All right, guys. So first off, the headphones we're going to check out today, we really have to get past the fact that it looks like both a just generic pair of DJ headphones, but also a flashy gamer headset, which basically is what it's intended to be. It is labeled as being a wireless pair of headphones for both DJs and gamers. So it actually accomplishes this, but I honestly think that the Kiwi Ears Aventus, which is the headphones that we're checking out today, it's actually more than that, and I'll explain why. So first off, this is not an expensive pair of headphones. It comes in retailing at $89, and right now on Amazon, it's where you can actually pick it up for like $71. Now what it is a wireless pair of headphones because it has Bluetooth 5.4. So these do have multi-point connection, so you can connect to two devices at the same time. It has hybrid active noise canceling, which you don't normally see in a pair of DJ headphones and you don't see in gaming headsets. It is using dual drivers in each ear cup. It's using a dynamic coaxial driver, which is a 40mm driver, and it's also using a 10mm driver on top of that. So it has a 40mm driver pretty much handling like the full range, but it has that 10mm driver to kind of give these a little bit of space. It says that it has reference tuning, which I don't necessarily agree with this because I don't feel like these are reference headphones. But inside the box, it also comes with foam tuning inserts. So if you feel like these headphones are a little bright on the details, you just add these foam inserts inside and it'll kind of calm it down just a little bit. But we'll talk about all of this once we get to the sound. Now, as far as the build quality, and again, the looks of these, it is a plastic headphone, but it is very well built. But it just reminds me of so many DJ headphones that I've looked at in the past. Again, that's why I feel like it has a generic look to it. These do fold inwards, they do swivel, so there's many different ways that you can kind of break these down to get them pretty compact. As far as controlling these, they do use physical buttons, which I am a huge fan of. You have basically a multifunction, which is also your power button in the middle. Then you have your up and down for the volume control. And then on the other side, you have your noise canceling button, and then also the button to turn on and off the lighting. It does have pleather padding at the top. There's plenty of padding here. The ear cups are made from a vegan leather. These are extremely soft. You can tell that they have the memory foam inside. This isn't an overly large pair of headphones. In fact, it even comes with a carrying case, so it's made to be kind of like taken on the go, like, you know, most consumer wireless noise canceling headphones. But also in the box, they've included a bunch of different connections. Now you can use it with the 3.5mm to 3.5mm wired connection. So if you want to plug these into like your computer, or maybe if your phone has a headphone jack, you can use it that way. But they've also included a USB-C to 3.5mm connection so that you can plug these into, again, your PC or your phone. And it actually has an internal DAC on this USB-C cable. So you can get an amplification just by plugging straight into a device. So that's nice. Again, you can use these wireless, which I highly recommend because the sound quality in wireless mode matches being able to use these in wired, which I feel like is huge. And then it also comes with a USB-A to USB-C cable. Now this is what you would need to charge these. And speaking of the charging, the battery life is actually very, very impressive. Now if you just use these in normal mode, like, you know, not having the noise canceling on, not turning the RGB lighting on, which I don't even want to discuss because I don't feel like RGB lighting should be on any headphones. And I guess maybe they're doing this to kind of match the gamer aesthetic. So there is a button on the headphones to turn this on and off. So I just left mine off. But with all of these things turned off, you can get 82 hours of battery life. If you do decide to use these with the noise canceling on, it does pull it down all the way to 45 hours. And then if you use it with the noise canceling on and the RGB lighting on, you're going to bring that down all the way to 18 hours. So that is a huge drop, 18 all the way to 82. But if you do pick them up and they are dead, these do have a pretty impressive fast charging feature where a 10-minute charge will get you 4 hours of use. Now moving over to the noise canceling on these, I was actually impressed with how good it is, especially again for a sub $100 pair of headphones. I feel like the noise canceling did a really good job, really when it came to lower tones, so engine noises, AC units, all of that stuff. It did a really good job of basically toning it down, not necessarily blocking it out completely, But when it comes to people talking, or if there's a TV going on, you're going to hear all of this about the same you would any other pair of wireless headphones on your head. And then you could use these with the noise canceling off, and I feel like they did a really good job of making sure if you're using these with the noise canceling off or with it on, that it doesn't really affect your audio. It kind of closes it in just a little bit with the noise canceling on, but this is normal. So again, really good job here and very impressive, especially for its price range. So now let's just go ahead and move over to the sound itself. The overall sound of these are just extremely fun to listen to. Now, it said that these are reference headphones. I don't agree with this. I guess maybe if you're using them wired and you're using them powered down where nothing is amplifying your sound, that's the closest thing to reference I would consider these. But they are definitely pumped up, which if it's a DJ headphone or a gaming headset, you should kind of expect this. The low end on these is very punchy. It's not sloppy though. That was what really impressed me. And it's very, very spacious. Again, I don't know if this is the dual driver setup that's allowing these to do this, but you could go from hip hop or to metal where there's the double bass of the drums, and it never affected anything else because guitars still came in cleanly, synthesizers, vocalists, everything had a really nice upfront approach, and the treble actually has some nice shine to it. Now, I wouldn't consider these harsh. I don't think it's overly bright or anything like that, but if you do feel like it is, and again, you kind of want to tame it down some, you would just put in those foam inserts and it kind of dials it back a little bit. And it also kind of amps up the bass a little bit. So there's no like app to be able to EQ these. You kind of have to do it the manual way. I love the way that these are tuned, so there's not really much I would do to it anyway. But for those that don't like a brighter or harsh treble, it's nice that there's something in the box to kind of tone that down a little bit. And then when it comes to the soundstage and the sound imaging, these are impressive on how open they do sound, especially considering how dynamic that they're tuned. Obviously, if you're going to use the foam inserts, it kind of closes it in a little bit more, but there's plenty of space in the sound, and being able to tell where different things are coming from, this headphone never had any issue with this. And again, this is to benefit, especially if you're going to use these for gaming, and which I did. I plugged these into my Steam Deck. I was very impressed at how open everything sounded. Explosions had a lot of body to them. And then dialogue always came through very clear. There's a lot of nice details in the treble, so you're able to hear a lot of subtle things in gaming. So my overall opinion is this. This is definitely one of those, like, don't judge a book by its cover, because if I were to look at these, I would think these are just a cheap pair of DJ headphones that probably have overly bloated bass and don't really have a whole lot of details to them. And these are far from that. They are really incredible sounding. They're extremely comfortable. The battery life is impressive on these. I think, if you're going looking just for noise canceling alone, I probably wouldn't recommend them for that. I think even in the sub $100 market, there are some better options out there. Or if you're looking for a pair of headphones that just have this nice, like, normal casual look to them, I don't feel like that's what these are either. But if you don't care about things like that, because it's a pair of headphones, you can't see it anyway. So if you only care what people think you look like, then maybe that's an issue. But outside of that, these sound fantastic, and I think they're a hell of a value even at their retail price of $89. And at $71, this is an easy recommendation. I would recommend it to casual listeners, just normal consumers, because it has that fun tuning. And I would even recommend it to audiophiles that don't want to spend a lot of money, because if you do want to plug these in wired into your amp that you have at home, and you just want to use them and power them that way and just kind of have more of the audiophile experience, I feel like you could do that with these, but also just unplug and have a very nicely tuned pair of wireless headphones. But guys, that's my video on the Kiwi Ears Aventus. Again, it's made for gaming, or it's made for DJs, but I feel like it kind of checks all the boxes, and you can kind of use these for whatever you want to use them for. But thank you so much for checking out this video. Thank you so much for checking out all the other videos. And as always, make sure to stay tuned for more.